All, all right. Well, heck, I think that we're live and coming right at you from two undisclosed locations in Oregon and Florida. This is the Trampled Underfoot Podcast. The coordinates have been dropped in each of your inboxes. Um,
That's right. But you need to have your tinfoil hat firmly in place to receive the signals.
yeah. Um, Remember, keep your fingers away from the socket.
That's right.
So So we'd like to welcome you to the Trampled Underfoot podcast show, and your hosts are Mark Lindsay and Eloy Escajedo. And what's going on?
Oh man, just working my tail off out in the yard. I've finished hauling granite for a little while anyway. Now I get to dig another trench, but that's okay. I'll get it. I'll get it. It's
Nice.
just taking a while to get done.
I participated in a couple of um, throughout the week, away from our groups, in a couple of lively debates.
Mhm.
Um, One had to do, not that we're going to get into this, but just since we're talking, well, one had to do with, is Christianity, what was it, reasonable? And the
Mhm.
other one had to do with something or other with the Western civilization coming to a collapse or something or other, and this and that. There was a back and forth. There was so many discrepancies that I saw. Not that anybody is 100% right or wrong, but it was an entertaining conversation on topics and stuff. That's what
Nothing,
I
li-
did.
nothing like a little lighthearted banter back and forth. I mean, go right for the heavy stuff immediately. Man, that's fun. Well, I mean, I don't think we're ever going to know the real answers and
To what?
anything, life, the universe, anything.
Oh well, we may not know the answers,
I don't
but
think we're supposed to know.
we may not know the answers. We we might not be destined to know,
Hmm.
but we have this human thing where, regardless, we get up and try every day.
Sure,
You know,
sure. And that's all you can do. That's all you can do. It's all you just get up, put one foot in front of the other, and keep on motivating because it sure beats the heck out of the alternative, so far as I know.
and even that we're not sure because
No.
maybe you wake up in some sort of
Well,
palatial, with like hot pools and like a little dish with like your favorite dessert and like scenes of like tropical whatever, or if you're into the winter experience,
yeah,
who knows, maybe it's like just
yeah,
a total party, dude.
but how boring would that be? Let's kind of now this has got nothing to do with the topic I had picked out, but let's take the spiritual aspect out of it and think about that
But
for a minute,
why?
okay? Well, just because
Okay.
just
All
humor
right.
me for a second here.
Sure.
Let's
Yeah, yeah,
take
yeah.
that aspect out of it and let's focus on that last part that you just said, where you are just in paradise.
Yeah.
You don't have to lift a finger if you don't want to lift a finger.
Yeah.
I mean, your meals are brought to you. You have no responsibility. You're free to do anything that you want at any time of the day or night. How much of that do you think you could take without going absolutely insane?
More than getting whipped and poked with a
Okay,
pitchfork
but let's
with
not go to
brimstone.
the other extreme. I mean,
Well, you
let's
went to one extreme, so I wanted to
well,
to 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 put it in.
I was just kind of, following that logic about, here in the physical world. That's why I say let's take the spiritual side out of it. Just
Okay,
here in the physical world,
yeah.
how long could you actually live that way before you'd go stir crazy? I mean, it'd be great for a while. Don't get me wrong.
Well, Mark, I think that you threw this out,
Hmm.
but I don't know that. Okay, I'll simplify it because of what I'm saying from this angle of what you're saying. I'll
Sure.
simplify it from my angle in
Hmm.
order for it to be more that we can consume it better, because this is pretty wild what you're
Yeah.
suggesting off of what I suggested. How much could you take, Mark Lindsay,
Hmm.
um, if on a continual basis you were given an extra supply of Walmart food and clothing per week, or food per week, or just flat out cash per week, or you know what I'm saying? Like if you break it into that, if so, you could
Well,
still do all the other stuff that you want.
but see, that kind of takes away from what I'm trying to get at. What I was trying to get at was the the concept of paradise being basically your every want, your every need at your beck and call 24/7. Me, I wouldn't want that. I like a little bit of working for it. I like a little bit of challenge. I like a little bit of uncertainty in the outcome.
I love it. I love
I
it. You're
do.
like
I'm serious.
You're begging. Wait a second.
I'm
You're
not looking
begging
for
for
hard
more
work and
misery.
toil.
What?
No, I'm not looking
No,
for
wait a second.
misery.
Listen to me. I love it. I love it. Okay, listen. So, are we talking about in the world today?
Yes, I said here in the physical world.
Okay. So, and by the way, these are extreme, like cartoonish examples of what we would
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's totally
assume,
outrageous.
even in the afterlife situation that we were kind of
Hmm.
jumping off of from this. It's not that these things, but these are like the common things that people think.
Sure.
It would there's no foundation that we would, um, but so you can't deny, you can't reasonably deny that the example is every back and call everything. You could
Yeah.
always get up. Like let's say
Yes.
extreme then. You can always get up, and if you're hungry for some adventure and some danger, you could always climb a frickin' mountain or do
Yeah.
some this or this or that.
But I mean, when you have, I guess what I'm getting at is risk and reward in there. And maybe not even that. Maybe not even that. Let me put it. Let me use something that we both know and love: woodworking.
No, there's no way. By the way,
Okay.
just let me inject this, and then I'll step back. There's no there's no there's no way you're gonna sign up in that scenario. You know what, folks? You guys aren't. I'm going for the forced labor camp because I think that there's a
See,
challenge
now
there.
you're
There's no
going
way.
to the other extreme, and
No,
that's
but
not. It's not either or. It's
no,
not
I know, I
forced
know,
labor or
I know,
satin
but
pillows.
I just find it the option.
Well,
I
then
like
let
the
me
question. Go
then
ahead, go
let me
ahead.
finish my thought. My thought is I kind of associate it with woodworking. It would be very easy to go down and buy a table, but I have very rarely felt any kind of a sense of accomplishment over buying something. I would rather go out and build the table and enjoy the process of the making, enjoy the process of the doing. I mean, at the end of the day, I still have a table, whether I buy it or I build it. But there's no guaranteed outcome when I come along and build it because I don't know is the material going to be up to standard? I don't know is the finish going to finish right? So there are some unknowns there. I don't have a guaranteed result, even though I've been doing this for a few days. There's no guaranteed end result. If I go down to IKEA and I throw together one of their flat pack tables, I still have a table to sit at. But where is the accomplishment in that? So what I'm getting at is a little bit of effort on my part is more rewarding than having something just handed to me. That's what I'm getting at. And that's what I say that I would go stir crazy with that kind of life. It would be fine for a while, believe me. I'd love to have, maid service turn down the bed and leave a chocolate on my pillow and oh yeah, I'll have the no, I'll have the ribeye steak this time. We'll save the filet mignon for tomorrow. I'd love to have that choice, you know, but it would be short. My joy of that would be a little bit short lived because eventually I'm going to want to go outside and work, is I guess what I'm saying.
Right.
I mean, think of your absolute favorite food. Now imagine that's all you can have for the rest of your life. You can't have too much of a good thing. It would get old after a while.
Okay. Well, I'll just say this: that I don't know that if you would have said and there's a contract that by accepting this wonderful all expenses paid existence, you can do no labor and you can't choose to do anything, then you've removed the ability to make choices in your life. What I'm suggesting is that you have all these things, but you can surely go on some sort of safari or
Yeah, and
explore.
and you know what? That would be cool. If I was about 20 years younger, I would sign up for that because there are a lot of places that I wish I would have gone in my life and I just never made it, you know. I've always, for some reason, I've always wanted to go to Tahiti and New Zealand. Don't ask me why.
Tahiti. I love the
I don't.
Tahiti thing.
I
Fiji,
don't.
was it
I
Fiji?
I don't know really all that much about either one of them. But for some reason, I've always wanted to go. Another weird one. I've always wanted to go to Antarctica and winter over, just to say that I had done it. Because there's not many people in the world who can say that yes, they spent a winter in it at Antarctica.
So basically, what you're saying is that you want to go to the ice wall that keeps us all in.
Yeah,
Well, I'll say this:
I don't want to climb that sucker. I just want to see it. You know.
there's a lot of places in this. You know, we're lucky too because we do get to see it. You know, sometimes vicariously through our friends that travel and do like video vlogs, but more so as well we have the internet, and obviously before we had books and magazines and such and this and that for those really far places that most, you know, places that one would dream of but probably never would visit. It's such a cool thing to at least have the availability of other humans
Yeah.
um, reporting back with images and writing
Yeah.
and film and such.
Yeah.
So we are very lucky as it is. So
We-
if you contrast those two extremes that we were talking about, I mentioned the pitchfork and the this and that, and then
Yeah.
you know, and then also you mentioned, well, this comfortable life, you know, it would get boring real. But we are in a sense a very privileged in the grand scheme of things.
Oh
We're
yeah.
very privileged.
Oh yeah. We've achieved a higher economic status than probably half of the population on Earth. I mean, we neither one of us are rich, but neither one of us are concerned about where our next meal is going to come from. So there is that. I mean, you know, we have a safe roof over our heads, and we do live fairly comfortable lives. But I'm just talking about the ability to sometimes it's hard to explain, but sometimes the joy of doing something is the doing, not necessarily the end result. And if you take away the doing, there really is no joy in that. You know, I'm not saying that everything in this house I made, because that's far from the truth. I've made relatively little in this house. But when I build something, I get a sense of accomplishment that I just can't get by buying it. And if I go out and do something on my own, you know, I would rather cook my own barbecue than go to a barbecue joint. You know, I get more of a sense of accomplishment out of that. And just for some reason, I feel more satisfied than if I go to a restaurant and buy barbecue, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just little BS things like that.
Well, I mean, it depends on the scenario. The
Mhm.
good thing is that we can do both, because typically, if you're going to a barbecue place, there's many reasons, but one reason would be you're with friends or family, and
Yeah.
you're going to have a sit down because you're doing something else.
Mhm.
And the main benefit, apart from eating, is the camaraderie between
Yeah.
the family and friends, and that's where the joy lies in that experience,
Mhm.
including barbecue.
Yeah.
So there's scenarios where the barbecue, and you could do that at home with family and friends as
Oh yeah.
well.
I've done it
But
several times.
but the point is that luckily there's plenty of different people with different trades
Mhm.
that are doing things that facilitate things that we might not want to do. We
Oh
could
yes, big
do,
time.
but we. So I mean, so so bringing it to what you were saying on the extremes, um you know people with, you could be, the old saying, you could have everything in the world and be unhappy, and
Mhm.
vice versa, be poor. And then the other saying that says, well, it's better to, if having all these things facilitates an easier ride. And I think that both things are true in it, according to your outlook on life, and what value
True.
you put on, things accordingly. So,
Yeah.
we were, last thing I'll say about this, from my end. Originally, what we did was we hunted for our things, and then we would consume them, and we had to go right back out and get
Yeah.
more, until we started figuring, where we would take and have like animals with us, and then it expanded to crops and all these things, and then people dedicated themselves to one aspect of society, and it blossomed. So, I mean, we're lucky. Is
Yes, we're
basically,
very lucky. We're the result of, centuries of that refinement and that technology being developed. I mean,
yeah.
instead of moving from place to place to follow the seasons, we were able to plant and reap what we sowed,
You could
literally.
get you can get what's a fruit that's not local to your area that you can get all year round,
Oh, oranges, any kind of citrus. Citrus won't grow here.
but yet,
Oh, yeah, but you can get it 24/7
yeah,
in any number of stores. And,
it's
any season, any year. I mean, you can buy things that are summer crops. You can get fresh zucchini, you can get fresh squash. I mean, summertime crops. You can get tomatoes all year round, but they won't grow here all year round. So yeah, that's obviously that's it. And yes, there are going to be certain things that I don't want to do that I would rather pay to have done
yeah,
or rather go out and buy, either because I don't know how to make it or I don't know that technology. I'm a wood guy, I'm not a metal guy. So if it's made out of steel, I go buy it because I don't have the tools and the skills and the knowledge to make it myself.
right.
But so there is something to that. But I guess my point is there are some things I want to do myself that I don't want other people to do for me.
Yeah,
And that life of luxury, I mean, it was John Lennon who said, well, you can write a good song just as easily on a silk pillow as,
yeah,
it's just more comfortable. That's all.
yeah.
So, but a lot of that also comes back to being comfortable with yourself. If you are comfortable in your situation, regardless of your surroundings, I won't say that those surroundings don't matter, but that's one more worry you don't have. So if you're comfortable, then and you're content, then that's good enough. And whether that means that you're the hardest working man in the world or woman in the world, doing hard physical labor for 8 hours a day, but if you're come home and you're content, then more power to you. Rock
Well,
on.
I think that I mean, I'm sure that there's people out there that are if given the choice,
Hmm.
because the whole idea is that, um, when we started off, and this is a broad sort of statement that I'm making, but I think it's generally true, like just broadly true. When we started off, we had to afford all our we had to place all our energy into sustenance and
Right.
survival, and there was not enough time for leisure enjoyments of life, necessarily. But the leisure, times of the day, week, month, year increased greatly the more we took control of our environment, and it allowed us to think of things like philosophy, and explore other avenues like poetry and all this and that. And so I think that we still have, well, we have the need for all these different disciplines, but I think that if given a choice, somebody that's crushing rocks for a living, they may love it, but if given a choice to maximize income and minimize energy expenditure, that mankind, as a as a general as a general leaning direction, is going to choose to maximize what's coming in and completely, as much as possible, minimize the effort used to
Right.
attain what's, whatever items.
And that's why I use the word content. That doesn't mean that you have hit nirvana. You're not in a perfect situation, but it's okay. You're content. You're fine with where you are and what you're doing and who you are, who you're with. If you're content, then great, rock on. Now, if you do have ambitions beyond them, then, that's normal. I mean, there are very few people that want to be down in a ditch, squaring up the bottom and shoring up the sides for the inspector to come along. There are very few people that want to do that. But if you are content in doing that, even though it is hard manual labor, and then more power to you. More power to you. I mean, I don't see an issue with it.
Yeah.
But then again, we also know people who refuse to stop working. People who work well into their 70s and 80s because they enjoy what they're doing. It's not that they need to do it financially. There are some older people that do need to do this, do need to work for financial reasons. But there are a great number of people who just despise the thought of retirement because they don't want to sit around and just fall apart. They want to keep going with what they're doing, keep their bodies and their minds active. So if you're content doing that, then I say go on, go on.
Yeah. I mean, of course, enjoy the thing that you enjoy.
But I don't think I could be content being weighted on hand and foot like that for very long. It would be great for a while. I'm not going to lie. I would love for the only decision I had to make would be, do I want to use the blue back scrubber brush in the hot tub today, or do I want to use the red one? I wish that was my only decision, just for a little while. But after that, that would get old.
This is slightly off topic, but kind of in the same world of desire, it just the human condition and this and that. Have you seen the movie Pleasantville?
I've heard of it, but I've not seen it.
Okay. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's entertaining. I recommend it.
Okay.
And it's free on YouTube.
Okay.
So I'll just say, there's a guy, and this is a very basic sort of little recap summary / whatever of it, but it's curious. So there's this normal teenage boy sometime in the 1990s, I would assume it was, or maybe early 2000s, in our timeline. And there's this show a la 1950s, 60s, whatever, Leave It to Beaver and all these different, and that he likes. And he's got a sister. She's a famous actress. I forget her name and this and that. But long story short, they get sucked into the Don Knotts appears out of nowhere. And he's like this otherworldly mailman guy. Mm-hmm. And he sucks them into that world unbeknownst to them. And all of a sudden, everything is in black and white. And they're living like the 1950s. Mm-hmm. So the whole movie from that point on is black and white. And they're trying to figure out, well, what the heck him and his sister are. Mm-hmm. Well, what the heck is going on? And he says, listen, I know this show. We're in the show. You just have to play along. Play along. And she says, this is ridiculous. And she's more like a more, sassy type of girl. Mm-hmm. She's not into that kind of old, homegrown sort of vibe. And so they go about trying to interact until they figure out. It's not unlike Back to the Future in that certain way. Okay. But it's got a totally different. Well, it turns out that the place that they're inhabiting, which is a TV show, it has a main street, and then it's cross street, and they're sitting in the school in the class, and they're looking at the map of the world as they know it, and all these people are just part of. And so they say, and when you go over here to Main Street and you go to the other end, and this and that, and the teacher is, and the girl raises her hand, the sister that got sucked into this world, and the teacher calls on her, and she says, well, what's outside, what's beyond Main Street? And all the kids turn and look at her, and they were shocked. They all,
Blasphemy.
the teacher looked, and she said, silly, when you leave Main Street, you go right back to the beginning again. And like she said it as a matter of fact, and the class was like laughing and stuff at her.
Mm-hmm.
And so as the thing progresses, her behavior starts to affect the people around them, because she starts bringing in notions that don't comport with their worldview.
Mm-hmm.
And as that starts to happen, the movie starts to introduce droplets of color along the way,
Okay.
into this 1950s world. And people start to shift in their attitudes. By the end of the movie, it's a great movie. By the end of the movie, they're totally, they've become like, instead of like the nice, Ricky Nelson, and so they end up with the Elvis greased back hair, and everybody's it just becomes the whole thing. And I like the messages, undertow message, well, very obvious messages in there, of the themes of innocence and discovery, and the boundaries of people's accepted realities, and so on and so. Very good. I recommend it to anyone.
Okay. It's called Pleasantville.
Pleasantville, and
I'll look into it. I'll look into it. It's going to be an early night for me. I'm tired, so I'll look in for it.
Well, no, it's it's there. If a good thing is that YouTube has a bunch of free movies. I don't know if you've run across them yet.
Yes, I have. In fact, we talked about one of them. That's where I watched that Muscle Shoals documentary.
Oh, that's right.
There's one that I've got to go back and watch that I haven't watched yet. It was called The Wrecking Crew, about the studio musicians out in California.
Yes.
And I haven't watched that one yet, but that's next on my list. So
there's one last one before you get into the subject. I know you have a subject to touch on. You might have run across this one too. On YouTube, there's a very interesting thing. There's a channel that all they do is they take, it's very interesting, the reviews from the 1960s that were in magazines and newspapers, and they read them out.
Yes.
And what it is that they're rereading what in the 1960s were opinion pieces or reviews of album releases from musicians that were critiquing other musicians, and it's very fascinating to hear their opinions at the time. So you have run across?
Yes, I watched the one Frank Zappa reviews the records released on such and such day and in the 60s. And another one was John Lennon. And there were a couple of them that I've watched. And it was interesting to see their take on contemporary music in their time, what they thought of the music that had been released that week.
Very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting to sit and watch. If you're a fan of music, I highly recommend it. I don't remember the name of the let me see if I have it up on my suggestions. I don't remember the name of the channel, but I've watched a couple of them. I've been hot and heavy into Professor of Rock too, but that's neither here nor there.
Did you notice how some musicians critiquing other musicians gave not so good, not so positive reviews to certain albums that did turn out to be massive, while at the same time upplaying things as musicians that we have no idea who they are today?
Oh, watch the one with Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa dogs everybody and then praises a bunch of people I have never heard of in my life. No, I don't have it up in my suggestions right now, but I have seen several of those videos. I don't have them up. Oh, well. And I didn't subscribe like a dummy.
Well, one thing I can tell you about Frank Zappa in his analysis of things, even back then, was that and you can see it more throughout the 80s and as he progresses. But he
Hmm.
was very, I would call him a very sincere human being and an intelligent and so he didn't throw things out the door. For instance, like what I do with the Rolling Stones and stuff, and I laugh at the.
Hmm.
Although I understand that they have value and this and that. It's just that whatever we've explained it, but he will really typically dig into the. I find him more, and now Pete Townsend I find very off put, like very rogue, um,
Abrasive.
abrasive and stuff. Paul McCartney, the same attitude as he's always had, where you can see that there's this gentleness and openness and wanting to please and not necessarily being extremely critical. You see his kindness coming through.
Hmm.
You see their personalities coming through in in the writings back then.
Hmm.
It's incredible.
Yeah, Paul McCartney is just this guy, and
Yeah,
that's what he wanted to be. That's all he ever wanted to be, was just this guy.
yeah.
Same with the oh my God, his name is right there. The drummer for Rush,
Neil
um,
Peart.
Neil Peart. He just wanted to be this guy. He wanted to be some guy who got to play in a rock band, but also got to ride motorcycles and hang out and go get a beer, or just stay at home and watch TV or something. He just wanted to
Right.
be this guy,
Yeah,
but he knew what his job was, and he had to do that job, and he enjoyed the heck out of his job, and it gave him the opportunity to do a lot of the things that he wanted to do.
yeah,
But he was always a very solitary guy. He didn't like all the trappings that came with the fame. So, and I can't say that part about McCartney, but McCartney never lost that hometown guy
yeah,
attitude,
yeah.
and that's not an easy thing for people to do.
No.
We've talked about that before, several times before, that when people start removing obstacles and you no longer have to wait in line, and you no longer have to go to the store to buy something, you just say, I want it, and it appears. You start to think that you are all that, and that you are something more important than you really are in the great
Yeah,
grand
the
scheme of things.
temptation, the temptation for that is present in every human being.
Right.
I, I, I would, if somebody said no, that the temptations, we're all capable of all the temptations that human beings are capable of because we fall in the category of human beings, but there's
Hmm.
a scale. So whereas if you receive so much power, just like the topic we started with this whole thing, if you're given everything in a platter, um,
Hmm.
if we're given every access, um, tyranny, um, because we make judgment calls that affect more and more people, and that can be dangerous because we start to believe our own hype, and
Yes.
the decisions we make affect more people and ostracize others while complimenting some, and that's why it's a crappy place to be some sort of like, you know, all powerful world dominating leader. Or
Well, it depends. Again, contentment. If that's what you crave, if that's what you want, then go for it. Just, don't be surprised when the slings and arrows start coming at you. But
don't be
you know,
surprised when the guillotine is waiting for you outside the castle
well,
doors.
I have. You're gonna have to forgive my memory because I really cannot remember who it was. But
Okay.
I saw a video, and I don't even remember. It was a part of something else. But this was a young actress, very famous, and it was a backstage or some sort of an event. I don't even remember what it was, but there were fans there as well.
Hmm.
And she's talking to some guy, and some dude walks up, and he hands her something to look at.
Okay.
And she, oh, wow, great. And then she just looked up, and the first words out of her mouth were, is this mine? And that right there struck me as, wow, are you kidding me? You believe that everything that somebody is just trying to show you is automatically yours? He wasn't trying to give her this thing. He was just showing, and I don't even remember what it was, But those were the first things out of her mouth was, is this mine? And when he said, no, I'm showing you this, this, and this, then she wasn't interested. And I don't remember who it was, but that attitude right there really turned me off. And because I couldn't believe that a person could be that shallow and superficial.
You can? You've seen
Not
examples of that.
and not with a straight face. Not with a straight face. She was genuinely, oh wow, this is great. Is this mine?
Yeah.
Well, no, I was showing you this, this, and this, and that she just wasn't interested after that. She couldn't get away from the guy fast enough. And this was something he was kind of proud of, but she just, when she found out it wasn't hers, she just lost interest. And that comes down to that entitlement thing that we were talking about, when people remove barriers and when people are not told no, you start believing your own hype, like you're saying. It just, to me, I just can't fathom that kind of behavior or that kind of attitude. And it was just like, oh my God, people really are that way.
Oh, and worse.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. Undoubtedly, they can be worse.
And worse. And so much worse. And, you know, the freaky thing about it is that you can be looking at a person and receive certain signals.
Mm-hmm.
Or worse, you can
Yeah.
be looking at a person and there's signals that you're not receiving properly because your own bias is sort of covering it or swaying it.
Or you're blinded by your own emotions.
Or you're blinded by your own emotions is the thing. And then, yeah, surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
That's not just me coming through the door with an axe and gasoline tank in my hand.
Well, you know, I think the thing that got me most about that clip was that was just one small segment of a much, much longer piece, but nobody mentioned it. Nobody even acknowledged that it happened. Yeah. Nobody even, it was not even commented. It wasn't even a topic for discussion. It just kind of went by, you know, and it just, wow. I just don't believe that kind of thing. So I don't know.
Oh, some people are, well, I told you that one thing where there's this video somewhere and like this guy, he's got his truck sitting out front by the road on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And he's freaking walking to his truck, and this dude is jacking up his the back of his car, and on in the midst of pulling his freaking back tire off, and the guy said, "Well, what are you doing?" He says, "Oh, I'm just taking this tire. I'm just, I need it." Dude, that's my truck. Well, it's been sitting here, the truck, and I need the tire. And that was his calculation, the guy robbing, that he needed the tire. And he even got pissed at the guy for claiming, "Get your hands off of my freaking vehicle." The guy.
Yeah.
And he said, "I'm calling the cops." And the guy got up and he says, "Well, I'm just borrowing it because I needed it, I mean, the truck is sitting there and stuff." And he's walking away. So there's people that are, I mean, just, what is that? And does that really surprise you?
A little bit, but then again, not really. Yeah. I mean, a lot of guts, not a lot of brains, a lot of guts.
No, you don't have. There's no way a person cannot. Well, no, there's not. That's wrong for me to say.
And that's bad parenting. That's bad parenting. It comes down to, I don't know if you remember this case. It was a few years ago. We were still living in Nevada. I don't know if it traveled all the way out to Florida. There was a woman who worked in a office, and specifically, it was all about Diet Pepsi. Diet Pepsi was running this contest where you open the screw off the lid of one of their plastic bottles. I don't remember if it was 20 ounce or 1 liter or what it was, and look in the cap, and there was a code in there that you could punch in on their website for certain prizes, but there were also cash prizes, and the top one was $1 million. And this woman who worked in the office She brought her lunch in, put it in the fridge, and she put her Diet Pepsi in the fridge. And she didn't think anything about it. Well, right after first break, there's a big commotion. This girl's running around screaming, "Oh my God, I won, I won, I won, I won, I won." And she was showing everybody the inside of this Pepsi bottle cap that was $1 million winner.
Okay.
Well, this other woman went in to the lunchroom, opened up the door. Her lunch was there, but her Pepsi was gone. And she went, "Wait, just a rock, pick a minute here." It turns out that this woman running around with the $1 million Pepsi cap stole this woman's soda and then just happened to look in and saw that she was a winner.
And it was $1 million, and this is true.
This is true. This happened, I believe it was in Las Vegas that it happened, somewhere down in southern Nevada. And it ignited a firestorm. I mean, they ended up going to court. She's like, "Well, no, but I found it." She goes, "No, you stole it." That kind of thing. "That's mine. The prize is mine."
And that happened.
It happened, yes. And it went to court and the whole damn thing. But again, that comes down to bad parenting. You knew that soda wasn't yours. What are you doing touching it? Now, she ended up not getting a thing. It did go to the person who bought the soda and brought it in. But it had to go to court to do it.
So the lady that stole it never got her $1 million?
No, because it wasn't her $1 million. It wasn't her soda. She didn't win anything. The woman who bought it did.
But if she legally stole it, because stealing is a legal term, then that means that it was her property.
That means that she stole $1 million and is guilty of a felony.
No, not a felony. Oh, well, no, because the thing is, so here's what should have happened. The lady with the cap should have ran clear across the state. The one that kept the thing, and she should. So here's the thing. That is such an odd scenario.
It's very odd.
The act of stealing a soda from another person is the intention on its face is clear cut. You're taking from someone and from something that's not yours. Clear cut. Yeah. The added bonus in this story is that that cap with me. So whereas the lady that was stolen from would have been pissed just for the Coke itself and like shocked. Right. But now that it entered this bracket, now things are just all. I mean, people have murdered for less.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh, definitely, people have murdered for less.
Yeah, but, for free.
And the capper, no pun intended, of this whole thing was they had surveillance tape from the lunchroom that showed this woman going in and getting that soda out of the fridge.
Oh wow!
So it was not deniable. She did it. She took it. And it ended up she didn't get nothing. I believe she didn't get anything. I'm almost 100% positive that's the way it ended up.
That is so screwed up, dude. And
yeah.
The worst thing about that is that the lady that thieved and saw the potential, did she actually did that money never went to her at all, right?
No.
It never reached her because she went to claim it, but
yeah, they said no. You
okay.
No.
So that lady that did that act, that unscrupulous act, chances are she never learned the lesson. But the lesson here is that you have just look at all this money that was put in front of you. It doesn't belong to you. That small little act that you did was a theft. So we're presenting you this whole thing just so you can see it. It doesn't belong to you either. And so, but that lesson, I don't know that person, it would, I don't know.
That will require some deeper thought. But it again, it comes back down to what I was saying is that's bad parenting. You teach that to a 3-year-old. It's not yours. Don't touch it. What are you doing with my bike? Well, I didn't know that was yours. Well, you knew it wasn't yours. Get your hands off it. It's not yours. Don't monkey with it. Leave it alone. You knew it wasn't yours. That's the whole point. Doesn't matter whose it was. I mean,
Yeah,
you're supposed to teach that to kids.
yeah, but you know that many times that's not taught, but many times that is taught, and then
True.
independently of that, people, um,
Oh, it's just a soda. I'll buy you another one. Well, no, that's not the point. The point is it's not yours. Get your hands off of it.
but my point, my what I'm trying to say is that that the variation of that is that there's people that go out of their way to teach their kids right from
Hmm.
wrong,
Yeah.
um, and yet inevitably people do what they do
Hmm.
regardless of their upbringing, although the upbringing directs them generally in the direction that they were taught, roughly thereabouts in that direction. But
Yeah.
people also go off and do all sorts of crazy stuff.
Sure.
Um, so
But
yeah,
it's selfish self-centeredness. That's all it is. It's, well,
you
I
have to have
wanted a
some.
soda.
You have to have some. Like, imagine at work, and then like there's a sandwich, and
Hmm.
that all the workers, and you just grab. Oh well, I'm hungry. Let me just grab this sandwich. The idea that you're taking something out of there and
Yeah.
eating it, and you're not thinking, well, this belongs to someone that it was probably prepared at home,
Hmm.
and it's their sustenance for the war, and not to consider the repercussions is
Yeah.
selfish and other things. Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly my point.
totally.
So, but
We're, we're on the same page.
karma comes around. I mean, it all comes around in the end. So that's fine. I
Yeah.
mean, it's there is some justice in the world, but I mean, now yeah, on the other side of that coin, you're right. If she'd have kept her mouth shut and just put it in her pocket, and never said a word, soda, what soda? I don't know nothing about no Diet Pepsi, but she didn't. So,
Well, couldn't it have been a thing where? Well, yeah. So there's no excuse on that. But I'm saying that she might have. It might have been a situation like I don't know the details, but
yeah.
where I won, so she went and told her, look, let's share in this, or
Oh,
some.
she tried to do that. She tried to say, well, let's split it 50-50. And the
Mhm.
lady who bought it said, no, you're a
That's
thief.
right.
You stole it.
Yeah.
You know, no, well, I'm not going to share it.
That makes for a great. That's a great um story in itself. I mean, heck, that's an incredible story.
Yeah.
It's
But
it's crazy.
it's sad that it happened, but it's, it is the case. So, I mean, what can you say? People are people, warts, lumps, and all.
Well, she got lucky,
So,
the original
but,
owner. She
mhm,
got lucky because she could have, the other one, if she was bright enough, let's say devious enough,
mhm,
because brightness doesn't necessarily equate to ethics.
uh-huh.
You can be bright and devious and malicious. Um, Apparently, we see this in the world.
Oh, yeah.
But if she had if she would have been like um very what would be the strategic,
Hmm.
um she would have gone away with her,
Yeah.
her bounty.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but then again, by the same token, I said if she'd have just put it in her pocket and kept her mouth shut. Now, let's just turn it around. No theft involved at all.
Hmm.
If you opened up a bottle of soda that you bought
Hmm.
down at your local 7-Eleven or wherever, you opened it up and it said you've won $1 million, would you be able to keep quiet?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody would ever know about me.
I
Nobody would.
always I always
Only
said that it.
after the fact,
Mhm,
after everything was settled,
mhm.
or I look at it like this: right up at the finish line, right there. You know how the when those videos where the racers start celebrating before they cross the finish line.
Yes.
Okay, just keep that. You got to be careful with that.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Celebrating before it's, yeah.
It's a done deal. Yeah,
It's not a sure thing till you have a tracking number. And
right. You don't want
then it depends on who the carrier is. So
to. You got to be careful with the streamers and the
yeah.
little
Take
party
take
whistle.
take down the banners and let's not get, premature, you know.
Yeah,
Gosh, that's
I
hilarious.
guess we're we're clear on that situation
Exactly.
because you know,
I always, because I'm with you, I always said that if I won the lottery, nobody would ever know I'd won the lottery because I would just disappear off the face of the earth. Nobody would ever hear from me ever again. There
it
would be
would
a few close friends I would send an email to saying, I'm fine, everything's great. It's me and DB Cooper walking around on the same desert island going, how's the food around this joint?
no, you
But
know,
nobody would hear from me.
honestly, I mean, just the way I was brought up, and I think it's so. I don't. So we all need certain things to
Mhm.
sustain our lives and this and that.
Sure.
There's personality characteristics, and there's one called I think I'm going to get it wrong because I can't think of the thing, but it's reward something to the effect of reward dependence or something or other.
Hmm.
And they've actually studied it genetically.
Uh-huh.
Um, if you have a leaning towards or not reward dependence. I forget the name of the actual thing, but I have it. I can show you whenever. So, and there's depending on how your DNA slices up, you can either lean toward reward depend. So you get very motivated with gain,
Hmm.
and then to the other side, you don't get very motivated with gain much at
Hmm.
all. And so there's markers for that.
Hmm.
Um,
Well,
so no, so I was saying, so in my case, according to the results that popped up on the thing, well, I'll ask you, which one do you think I'd be extremely motivated, reward based, or not reward based
I,
at all, or in
I
the middle?
I'd
What
say you would be on the low side of the middle. That yeah, reward is important, but it's not a big priority to you.
my needle, or and the is on the low end,
Yeah.
and it made me think, looking at those things, because they have various ones. Looking at them, it makes you reflect too and think, and this and that. And sometimes the results, you're like, well, that can't be.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like, well, yeah, that makes sense and stuff. And that is one thing that, to be honest with you, everybody wants good things and
Sure.
rewards and such. But do I really value um, those things? I don't. I think that it works with my. I'm satisfied with very little.
Yeah.
it's
I'm
it's you know
yeah,
it's weird.
I'm pretty much content where I am with what I have. And yeah, things could always be better. I could have a bigger lot, I could have a bigger shop, but I could also have a lot more headaches.
Yeah,
And I would also be paying for that bigger lot and that bigger shop. So my mortgage is fine. I'm content where I'm at.
yeah,
Does that mean I don't want nicer? No, that doesn't mean that at all.
yeah,
It just means that if everything stopped right now and leveled off right now, I could motor on the way I am right now and I'd be a happy guy.
yeah,
You know, and that comes along with being content and comfortable with who I am and content with what I have and grateful for what I have.
very
I'm
good.
not forever looking over the fence and seeing what's, you know,
Shiny.
yeah,
Although it's
you
fun
know.
to do, but in balance. You're saying
Oh,
in in
oh,
the great balance,
don't get me wrong. If I see a neat car going down the street, I'm like, dang, that's cool. But
right?
then again, I'm not laying underneath it polishing the chrome because it went through a mud puddle. So it's easy for me to appreciate something from afar because I'm not the one that has to deal with the maintenance and upkeep
Right,
and the payments.
right.
So, it, yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah, yeah. That's
I'm,
a balance. That's a good balance.
yeah,
You can appreciate,
uh-huh,
even though you're not, you haven't acquired this X, whatever that might be, item or
hmm,
whatever it is. But you can appreciate it, but at the same time, you're aware that
yeah. There's
along
a
with
lot of responsibility that comes along with it.
right,
Exactly.
yeah,
That I don't
yeah,
have right now, and I'm glad I don't have it.
yeah. That is a very important point
Hmm.
to lay out, because everything does come with
Hmm.
its counterweight. Let's say,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
mean, I would love to own one of my dream cars is to have an Aston Martin.
Nice.
But that's also $250,000 to buy one. Then you got to insure the son of a gun. Then this is not the kind of car that you could just pop the hood and, tinker on the weekends. You got to take it down and have it serviced because it's very specialized, computerized, the whole ding dong thing. So you're looking at a lot of money in upkeep. You're looking at a lot of headaches as far as getting it insured. And you're constantly worried that some mope next to you at Walmart's going to open the door and ding it, because that could be $3,000 for a scratch because somebody let their shopping cart get away from them.
I don't
So
see the justification for
I just don't
a vehicle.
have the, if I had the money, sure, why not? But I don't have the headaches to go along with it.
It's
Yeah.
it's a beautiful car. I mean, I'd have to see the actual, but I think it's so. I would say that, but it's such a grotesque amount of money to spend. That's my opinion. I know for someone
Mhm.
else maybe it's not, but grotesque amount of money, $250,000 for $1 million for a vehicle. It sounds so outrageous,
Yeah.
dude.
I didn't pay for that for my house. So, that's double what I paid for the house.
It's yeah, it just sounds,
So,
weird, just off,
yeah.
like,
But then
but
again,
there it is.
if you're in that position, why not? I mean, there's a reason that Nick Mason, drummer for Pink Floyd, there's a reason why he has a collection of Ferraris, because he can,
Yeah.
you know. He's not worried about insurance. He can pay for it. Jay Leno with his car collection.
Yeah.
I mean, he was asked one time about it. Well, what's with all these cars? And he says, who wouldn't? If you were in a position to where you could buy these vehicles, restore them, fix them up, and keep it in a collection, wouldn't you do it? If money wasn't a concern to you and you were in a position to do it, wouldn't you do it?
Who
Yeah,
knows?
okay, sure. You know,
Who knows what one would dedicate their spending to in such circumstances.
yeah,
Surely there's plenty of items out there to purchase,
right.
to keep one entertained, I guess, to one degree or the other.
And it also depends on your appreciation. I mean, there are people that have paid millions of dollars for paintings by the masters. It's a painting that hangs on the wall, and you've got $10 million invested in that sucker because you appreciate art. People pay $750,000 for a jade vase that was carved in during whatever dynasty or what have you. You appreciate that art. Sometimes automobiles are art themselves. I mean, you know, it just depends on what your interest is and what you appreciate.
On that note, as a sidebar thing within that of purchasing, like you said, art
Mm-hmm.
and just all that, it's I found I've run across throughout the years these coin collectors,
Mm-hmm.
and I find it interesting, especially with the study of history and genealogy and all these things. I found it interesting that one could today, for a relatively inexpensive amount of money, still acquire Roman coinage
Yeah.
of the era of the ancient
Yeah.
world, and
Yeah.
actually it be delivered to
Yeah.
your house, because there was so much made
Yeah.
that even for today's standards, and
Yeah.
considering that the interest of people, I find that fascinating that you can
Yeah.
actually purchase
And
Roman coinage.
and hold in your hand something that was made a couple of hundred years BC that you didn't pay an extravagant amount of money for. Yeah,
It's just so amazing, dude. It
yeah.
really is. So I remember a friend of mine, it was funny, years ago, something to do with it's funny. I'm going to say this, but because it's going in the news right now, but if you remember the original Pirates of the Caribbean
Mhm.
movie from Disney,
Mhm.
within our recent years,
Yeah.
decade or whatever. Um, a friend of mine had some sort of connection here, there, or other on some. I don't know what the story was or this and that, but he came in and brought in like a bag full of gold coins from the movie,
Yeah.
and and I got to see them and stuff. And these were props for the
Mhm.
movie, but it was still so cool to see,
Yeah.
the whole thing. Just the amount of detail on something so, that you'll see it in passing in the movie
Yeah.
was created with such care. Very interesting.
Yeah. 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 Just wow. That is cool though.
Yeah, props and
Yeah,
such.
movie memorabilia and what have you. And there are people that specialize in restoring those. There's
Yeah,
a guy on YouTube. I saw it a couple of years back. You remember the TV show Lost in Space?
I do, but I never really got into
Okay.
that.
Well, the ship, the Jupiter 2,
Okay.
he's restoring the model that was used for that TV series. And it was all fiberglass and, wood frame and all this, that, and the other, and had a bunch of lights and obsolete technology that he's having a heck of a time trying to, track down and restore to original condition. He doesn't want to use, yeah, I can go ahead and put a strip of LEDs in here, but that's not original. It
Right.
used this relay system with these incandescent bulbs, and I'm trying to restore everything.
Right.
And he spent years doing this. Just, he fell into being able to buy the ding dong thing, and it was trashed. It was really in bad shape. But he went back to, finding the old type of resin and the old type of fiberglass and repaired it and fixed it and did what he had to do. And, it's well on its way to being completed, I'm sure, by now, because he was about halfway through the project, like I said, a couple of years ago.
I really
So,
love that whole world of um the props and this and that.
mhm,
I remember loving just as much, if not more, the Lord of the Rings box set, um, the appendices and the back, behind the scenes stuff.
yeah,
Because in those, I don't know if you ever saw those.
no, I didn't.
They went into exquisite detail, film
Hmm.
wise and all that, of every sort of facet of the production and
Hmm.
back behind the miniatures,
Hmm.
bigatures, miniatures, and the digital side. And so I could watch that back, well, not back to back. That goes over a course of days
Hmm.
because there's so much information there. But they really did such a great job with laying out the whole process of making swords and prosthetics and just everything. It was such a great. It was almost as fun, if not more, than the movie.
Yeah.
Incredible stuff. Incredible stuff.
I've always been interested in things like that because, I mean, from a kid, age 5 on, I always wanted to be a movie maker. So behind the scenes and how movies are made, that was, I mean, always been a huge, huge attraction to me and a fascination. And just
Yeah.
some of the little things that they did with practical effects back in the day before computers came along was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And it was all just playing with light and tricking the eye. I mean, learning that, for instance, baking soda is an excellent replacement for snow on small model scale. You know, it just little things like that, because it has the right sparkle. It actually looks like snow when light is reflected off of it, just on a very small scale. Just all kinds of little things like that.
Yeah, there's so much on the opposite side of that, or not opposite side, but within the realm of that we started off on, of we wouldn't we get bored with ourselves if everything was
Mhm.
handed. Looking at the extreme and the things that you just mentioned and all this that we've been talking about, there's so many different cool stuff that people get into that
Yeah.
make our world so much more interesting in such detail, like
Hmm.
the whole miniature thing that you're talking
Yeah.
about now. um it's just such a wonderful, really, it at the end of the day, I mean, one has to really think, wow, and have some sort of, maybe some sort of, I think it's wise to some degree, have some sort of like awe with all the cool stuff that we are surrounded by. I mean, there's nothing really that can stop you if you are on about, just on a rant, or on this trip about, let's say, model airplanes or model train sets,
Right.
or if you're into whatever. We have the ability, at this very moment to begin that project, whatever that might be,
Yeah.
right now by just researching it. And then
Yeah.
tomorrow, when the sun comes up, heading off to your local whatever and start to acquire and build. And it's just
Yeah.
such a one. It really is a wonderful thing.
You
It
are
really
your
is life.
you are your own biggest obstacle in life. If you want something bad enough, you won't let anything stop you. But if you if you keep finding reasons to not even start, you are going to fail. That's all
Yeah.
there is to it.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You know, if you want to do it bad enough, you won't let anything get in your way. You may not succeed, but you'll have the satisfaction in knowing you gave it your best shot. You
yeah.
know,
And there's
so
plenty of cool stuff out there. I guess it's also part of Outlook and all that. I mean, there's so much. I do the things that interest me
mhm.
at the moment,
Yep.
right? So like now I'm doing what I do, and what I enjoy. Like, I'm literally doing what I'm doing is what I enjoy, which is the researching and discovering because there's an element of detective work going on.
Mhm.
And but when I was into music as my primary thing, boy, I never let go of that guitar. It was constant. I wanted to I wanted to draw from it and understand it. I could learn more, but um, there's phases of learning and acquiring knowledge, and it stays with you, and we grow. It's such a great thing. I mean, but like tomorrow, if I want to learn the wonders of paper mache
Well,
and
yeah.
this, it's available to us.
You could fall down another rabbit hole at any moment, and I'm an expert at that. But I'm also now content to live vicariously through others, like you're talking about people with travel vlogs and what have you.
Yeah,
There is a certain limit to that because I may not be interested in what the person doing the vlog is interested in. So he's going to focus his attention over here on this one thing where I want him to turn the camera just a little bit further to the left so I can see what that other thing is back over there. I'm interested in that. I'm not interested in the stones you're showing. I want to see what that figurine is over there,
yeah,
you know. So there is that aspect of it. If I go there, I can look at what I'm interested
yeah.
in
You're in
and not have
control.
to yes, and not have to focus on what someone else is interested in. So,
All right, so let's go to the conversation side, the after show.
okay.
Um, I'm gonna go ahead and unless there's something else you wish
Nope.
to. Okay, so and by the way, did you touch on the subject that we were going to touch on?
Nope. That's okay. We'll save it for another time. That's
Okay,
okay.
all right. Um,
It happens all the time, man. I'll pull up 3 or 4 pages or something like that, and we won't get to it, and then I'll find something else shiny. Or 2 months down the road, call back. Let's bring it back up and let's talk about it.
well, it has happened like that. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So listen, we want to thank you for hanging out with us. We go live every Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific Coast time here on our YouTube channel, Trampled Underfoot Podcast on YouTube. We have a Facebook page by the same name, Trampled Underfoot Podcast. Usually we post things that we talk about, movie clips or images, and you can catch those there. You can also leave comments, and if you have show ideas, you can do that as well by leaving it over at our Trampled Underfoot Podcast page on Facebook. We have a website called Trampled Underfoot Podcast .com, and we have a Wayback Machine button. You press that, and you can catch our past episodes over there. And we're also sponsored by
Harneo Media, your web solution, your web source, your one-stop website shop. Just you and me talking here. This is just us. Forget about everybody else. I know you want to start a web presence. You want to improve your web presence. You need a website. You got to have a website. I'm telling you, Steve Nealon is your guy. If you don't know anything about websites, he can take care of you. If you're an old pro and you know all about websites, you just need a host, he can take care of you. He can do as much or as little as you want. You're the judge. You tell him what you need, he's got you covered. You want to create a web store so people can purchase your products or your items, or you want to create merch, t-shirts, hats, coffee cups, you name it. He can hook you up with a print-on-demand service that will take care of all the inventory, take care of the shipping. You just concentrate on the orders. That's Harneal Media, HARNEAL Media.com, sponsor of Trampled Underfoot Podcast.com.
All right. So listen, folks, we'll catch you next week. Be safe, enjoy yourselves, and see you.
Peace. Okay, there you go. Can you
Was
hear the
that
siren? Can you hear the sirens behind me?
no?
Oh, we got like fire trucks and the whole 9 yards going on behind me.
Oh,
That's
great.
that's me, Steve. Steve's asking who has sirens. That's me. So we're about a mile and no, we're not even a mile and a half. We're probably half a mile away from the fire station.
Okay.
So this happens every so often. They're across the main highway from us. They come up, make that left to go onto the main highway and head into town. So, and the only way I know it was the fire engine was because I heard the horn as he was making that left turn onto the highway.
Is that necessary? This is
Yes.
a quiet town, folks.
Yeah, well, just letting you know that horn works. Dan says, what day is this? It's a new morning. It's a new evening. Welcome to today. Let's see here. We don't have any real comments. We have a lot of hey, hi, ho there. You're as welcome as can be. Steve said, I guess we're talking about the lottery here. I would just disappear. Me too. Me too. You'd never hear from me again. You'd never see me again. I'd just be a memory. Call me Casper. I'm a ghost. I'd set up shop somewhere, have a nice big workshop, and just spend the rest of my days
Somewhere in Okinawa.
just making something, making stuff,
Somewhere,
doing stuff with my hands.
somewhere in a little village on the coast of Japan.
My little grass shack in Kealakekua, Hawaii. Yeah, that was it. There are no other comments. Boy,
The heck, folks.
we must not have been interesting. I'm telling
I
you.
mean, remember, there's a lot of stuff going on the news. I think that
True.
there's reports of nuclear, danger over the horizon and all sorts of crazy things.
Social media would be a thing of the past, says Steve. Yeah, I agree. I don't participate in social media as much as I used to. I don't. I posted a picture the other day. It may have been yesterday, may have been day before, of the progress I've made in our backyard.
Yeah.
Over the last 4 years. Well,
Yeah.
3 years, because I didn't do a thing last year. I was concentrating on the shed, so the shop shed. So nothing got done in the yard at all last year. And that's the first really personal thing I have posted on social media in probably about 6-8 months. I just don't really participate much anymore. And that's simply because number one, I don't know is anybody interested. Number two, I don't want to sit in front of the computer all day long. I'd rather be out there doing it, So
I mean, so it's good that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to use it and stuff, there's other things to do, like you mentioned last week. So,
Yeah, I mean,
there's other things to do.
exactly.
One could do that and say, well, you know what, social media. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, according to whatever we're interested in, focused on, and whatnot, it is what it is. It's good
Yeah.
we have the option, but you don't have to, like you mentioned last week. You don't have to have this whole social media thing going on.
No, you don't. I mean, there's so much more. I mean, the only reason I'm on it for 2 reasons. Number one, it's a way for me to stay in contact with my kids and my grandkids. Number two, it's a free promotion tool.
Yeah.
When I post a video, I post it in a few groups. When we, like this morning, when the podcast we recorded last week went live, the audio version, I post a promotion there. Um, I post on my personal page, I tag you in it, and then I post it over in a podcast group on Facebook to promote it over there. If I wasn't doing those things, nobody would know I exist because I just don't. Nobody's interested in what I had for dinner last night, so I'm not taking pictures of my food. You know, I, I'm not taking selfies in the mirror. It's just I just don't see the attraction of sitting there, hovering, waiting for a thumbs up on something you posted. You know, it was kind of cool and fun when it was new to me, but the bloom's been off of that rose for a while.
The thrill is gone.
The thrill is gone away. Rick French says Powerball is almost 500 million right now. Cool. Very cool. Very cool. I should probably buy a ticket. See, that's the other problem with not hitting the lottery. I think you have to buy a ticket.
You don't have to buy a ticket. You can just wait till somebody jumps and hollers at the local lottery thing, and then go ahead and whack them upside the head and grab their ticket.
Yeah, well, yeah, but then they go back and look at the surveillance tapes and discover that you weren't the one that bought it.
That's
so
why
you don't
have
get
to
no
do
money.
That's why you have to do a complete liquidation job. Mark, I was thinking highly of you before, but if you're gonna do the job, you gotta not only eliminate the ticket, the guy, what is it, the guy that bought the ticket. You have to eliminate the, the guy sitting out drinking a large beer at the corner. You have to eliminate everyone in the store, and you have to like climb up and like break all the cameras everywhere, pull all the tapes.
And I was going to say, you don't think that'll be on video?
but obviously it's but like in order to get away with anything in this world, the amount of havoc that you have to like participate in.
It's like Genghis Khan's burial place. Nobody knows where Genghis Khan is buried. Okay. Now, this is a story. This is the legend. The legend was that his burial place had to be kept a secret. So he was buried by slaves. Guards killed those slaves when he was buried to protect the secrets of where his grave was. Those guards who killed the slaves were killed to protect the secret. All in all, the legend says about 20,000 people were killed to keep the location of his grave a secret. Why? What did they think was going to happen if people knew where Genghis Khan was buried? I don't get it.
They would disrespect his
he was the Khan. He was the great Khan. I mean,
Yeah.
Rick says there must be a tropical island that I could purchase for 500 million. Well, if you talk to the people in New York, they may be ready to sell Manhattan back for 10 cents on the buck. Don't know.
Was that Genghis Khan's burial thing a legend or?
That's the legend, and nobody really knows where it's true because nobody knows where he was buried. But that's the legend.
But was it written or something? Or
oh yeah, it was written down. Okay. Let's see. Frankie says the story about my guitar issue is going to be a great follow-up and video, but looking like towards the end of summer. It's going to be better than I thought. Okay, that was the story about somebody famous played his guitar. Should be in the location it happened and the folks that was involved to give their take on the series of events that took place. This must be, somebody must have returned from the dead.
So are you making a video of it? Are you going to be making some sort of video of it? Because if you are, I think that's going to be made well. Mm-hmm. Like sitting down and scripting it out so that your scenes build a climactic crescendo.
Yeah.
And so that people can follow along as smoothly as they can, but giving them enough kind of like a movie. I think it would make a great,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Great video. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really do. So
Go for it, man.
however it
I
goes, you know.
I don't know about buying a tropical island there, Rick, because you open yourself up to a lot of worries there too. You know, I
Number
mean,
one, it's tropical, so you're gonna need air conditioning.
well, it depends on where you go because if you position yourself just right, I mean, there are places in Hawaii where they have no heat or air conditioning at all. You just don't need it because it stays very comfortable all the time. So it depends on where you go. I would look for a more established place and just be anonymous.
No, I think what he meant by the 500 million was
Mhm.
that he would donate it to the Trampled Underfoot Podcast Trust Fund,
Ah, that's right. The Hands Across My Wallet Fund.
and
That's it.
the hands across my. It's just right to
Mhm.
um, Walla Walla, Washington, Trampled Underfoot Podcast Trust Fund, and
Why?
Bagel Bagel Museum.
Why did you pick Walla Walla? That's too long of a drive for me.
Because I
It's
grew
about
up
10 hours
when,
away.
when we were kids. You don't remember there was like during morning shows. I mean, this was after your time, but
Walla Walla,
slightly.
Washington.
Yeah.
Yep. And Steve says, yeah, the bagel fund is managed by your sponsor.
You see.
Well, Steve, you get 10%. I mean,
Of course. See, no. See, this is right. This is the fund to for all the work we put in all this time. Of course.
Yeah, Rick says that must be what I meant. Frankie says, I'm making the video. However, the person who played it will most likely be through Skype. Oh, cool. Oh, okay. See, now that's a whole different ball game there. If you can get that person on camera, that'd be great. That'd be cooler than hell.
Well, wait a second. If you get them through Skype, or you can get them through recorded through Trampled Under. I'm reading the. I'm sorry. You know, after the five,
StreamYard.
I wasn't the same after the 500 million that Rick laid on us.
Mhm.
I've never been the same ever since. If you do it through StreamYard,
Mhm.
you have the ability. I don't know if Skype can capture video, but this service can surely do all that.
Mhm.
Perfectly.
Yeah. I don't know. With 500 million, Rick, that's a heck of a lot more than. I mean, I can't count that high. I would have to start a foundation for kids. You know,
Oh, kids named Mark Lindsay.
no, for kids. I mean, there's a lot of kids. We have a local charity here. It's not really a charity, it's just a little organization. They do a drive right around August, September, that
Yeah.
time frame, and it's called Coats for Kids.
Okay.
And people just go out and buy a child's coat. And there are several drop-off places around here, and it's one TV station sponsors it, and the real estate company I used to work through is one of the co-sponsors. And go down, and you fold them up and everything, and you package them up or kind of wrap them up and everything, and just make sure that every kid in the area has a
A
nice,
coat.
good coat for this winter for going to school.
How about a
And
coat and a toy?
I think things like that are pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of kids out there. That's the first new coat they've ever owned. Down in Reno, when we lived down in northern Nevada, every year during what the Reno Rodeo, they had what they called the Great Denim Drive. And that's where they wanted people to bring kid-sized blue jeans and a top, a blouse for a girl or a nice button-up shirt for a boy.
Right.
And they gave it to several orphanages and several charities and children's homes and things like that, because a lot of times that was the first new clothes these kids have ever gotten. I'd probably start a foundation like that, something to do with that,
Nice.
something along those lines, something that can be self-supporting. And I don't want to run it, I'll just fund it, with trustworthy people.
Well, that there is the
Yeah, that's the hard part, is finding people that want to do that, because people that want to do that are usually the ones that shouldn't. So, but I'm sure my cynicism would help me find the right people.
Yeah.
So to run an organization like that. Kids have enough worries. They shouldn't have to be worried about where they're going to eat next or what they're going to eat next or even are they going to be cold walking to school, you know. So let kids be kids and other people should worry about the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know. See. Frankie C and C, if I won 500 million, then after taxes was taken, I'd keep 3, give the rest away. Well, just make sure you spell my name right on the check.
That's right. Make sure you spell his name correctly. That's Eloy
Yeah.
Escobedo.
People have started foundations for less that help kids with medical bills. I mean, St. Jude's Hospital is a very worthy charity. The one thing I like about St. Jude's is it's a cancer research center dedicated to kids, and nobody, nobody who's ever gone to St. Jude's for treatment has ever received a bill. They're 100% self-supporting through donations, and that speaks volumes to me. So when a kid with leukemia goes in and gets treatment, 100% free, so that kid can be a kid. That says something to me.
There's a lot of people doing fantastic selfless, tasks out there every day of the year and for years and decades. There's a lot of people in good in very stable and economically well off situations doing so much good as well. So it's
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
also the sort of like heavy handed slander towards, certain groups due to what they may or may not have financially
Hmm.
is also a bit, usually that type of
Yeah.
that type of discourse goes in
Well,
these extreme directions when there's
yeah.
so many people across the board doing many things. So
Yeah, you only hear criticism of the rich people based on what they have. You never hear any discussion about rich people, about how much of it they give away.
yeah.
You know? I mean, that's the reason that a lot of these charities, a lot of these organizations are still afloat, is because people give their money away. I mean, you look at somebody like Andrew Carnegie, who was one time the second richest man in the world. He gave each of his kids a $100,000 stipend in his will and said, "You're on your own." Now, at the time, $100,000 was the equivalent to like 2 million. But he had so many billions, it wasn't even funny. Um, and the rest of it he gave away. I mean, he built libraries in cities that would never have a library. The Carnegie Foundation is still handing out money. He started different foundations that give to charities. I mean, he built Carnegie Hall and gave it away. I mean, he just basically gave away his entire fortune while he was alive,
Yeah.
and what was left after he passed on, he gave each of his kids $100,000, and the rest of it was given to charities that he had named.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
You
an
know,
amazing thing.
he started out as a 12-year-old kid coming over from Ireland. His dad was a weaver, and his first job was as a messenger boy for the railroad. And he would uh, get a telegram and he would run that message to whoever it was supposed to go to as a 12-year-old kid, and he built himself up to one of the second richest man in the world. you know DuPont was the richest at the time. Frankie says no person needs that kind of money, honestly. Well, you don't know what they're going to do with it, and I'm not in a position to decide what anybody else needs.
Well, no, I
So,
mean, if it's done,
and it's theirs. I mean, you know,
no, I'm saying if it's done because whatever it is that they're selling or pushing and it's all on the up and up, it does sound like an extreme amount. But if it's on the up and up, if it's through no nefarious means, and deceiving and
Oh yeah,
fraudulent activity, then I would say yeah. But I mean, these are numbers we can't even
yeah. I
process.
can't. You can't even quantify it.
Yeah.
Steve
Let,
says you don't have to be rich to give. Too true. Too true. You don't have to be rich.
let's wrap this puppy up. I think
I think you're right.
we done.
Yeah, we kind of muddled through another one. I mean, but that happens on occasion.
No, we talked about certain themes there, and I think that
Yep.
that it all tied in, and I think we did good.
Hmm.
Um, I'm sorry, I think we did well.
Hmm.
I think we did well. Don't
We
you?
did
Would
rather
you
well.
say?
We did
Well,
rather well.
would you say we did well?
Nailed it.
Um, so listen, folks, we thank you so much for hanging out with us. If you have show suggestions and so on, you're always welcome to drop them over there in the Facebooks
Or leave a
and
comment in this video. That's cool too.
or here, and nothing. We're gonna go ahead and boogie. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. You want me to hit the button
Yeah,
so way you don't have to lean forward?
yeah. Leaning forward is for the birds, man.
Yeah, I know, man. See,
Where's my lean forward button person that's here to cater to me?
it should be right there on the arm of your chair. Have a good night, y'all. Take care.